In May 2011, the world's most wanted man was killed in a nighttime raid in Pakistan. 15 years later, not one photograph of his body has ever been made public. No image, no press release with a picture, nothing. The question isn't really why the United States refused to release it. The question is, what did they think would happen if they did? This is the story of what happened to Osama bin Laden's body, and why a single photograph was treated as more dangerous than the man himself. Osama bin Laden was born in 1957, the 17th of more than 50 children in one of Saudi Arabia's wealthiest families. His father built a construction empire that helped modernize the kingdom's infrastructure, including work on some of Islam's holiest sites. The bin Ladens weren't just rich, they were politically connected and devoutly religious. Every year during Hajj, Osama's father personally hosted prominent Islamic scholars, and it was through these circles that a young Osama began forming relationships that would later shape his worldview. By most accounts, his radicalization took root during his university years in Jeddah, where he encountered members of the Muslim Brotherhood. According to his mother, this is where the ideological shift began. Soon after, the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan in 1979 gave that ideology a cause. Bin Laden began funneling money, resources, and eventually recruits from Saudi Arabia into the Afghan resistance. By 1984, he had established an organized base in Peshawar, training volunteers, building a database of fighters, and laying the groundwork for what would become Al-Qaeda. His break with Saudi Arabia came a few years later. When Saddam Hussein's Iraq threatened the kingdom after invading Kuwait, bin Laden offered his own fighters to defend Saudi Arabia. The Saudi government instead invited American troops onto Saudi soil. For bin Laden, that decision, foreign, non-Muslim forces stationed near Islam's holiest cities, became unforgivable. He was placed under a travel ban, slipped out of the country under the pretext of a business trip, and never returned. From that point on, his target shifted from regional politics to the United States itself. Fast forward to May 2nd, 2011. A US Navy SEAL team raided a compound in Abbottabad, Pakistan, and killed bin Laden. What followed wasn't just an operation, it was a carefully managed decision about what the world would and wouldn't be allowed to see. Reason 1, there was nowhere to bury him. Saudi Arabia, his home country, had already banned him and reportedly refused to accept his remains when the US inquired. Pakistan, where intelligence officials suspected some kind of support network had helped him hide for years, was never even consulted before his burial. The US didn't trust the Pakistani government to keep the location or the body secure. Reason 2, the US did not want to create a shrine. Washington had already made this mistake once. In 2006, after Saddam Hussein was executed, his body was returned to his hometown of Tikrit for burial. His grave became a gathering point for supporters and, over time, a symbol used by extremist movements. American officials were determined not to repeat that outcome with bin Laden. A known gravesite anywhere on land risked becoming a pilgrimage destination and a rallying point. Reason 3, Islamic burial customs. Islamic tradition calls for burial, not cremation, ideally within 24 hours of death following a set process. Washing the body, wrapping it in white cloth, offering funeral prayers, and burial with the body facing Mecca. Cremation was never a serious option because it directly conflicts with Islamic practice. According to US officials, the body was washed, wrapped in white cloth, and a military officer read Islamic funeral prayers, translated into Arabic, before it was released into the Arabian Sea. Sea burial is recognized in some interpretations of Islamic law for situations where a body cannot reach land in time, though several religious scholars afterward disputed whether bin Laden's case genuinely qualified as one of those exceptions, arguing the burial was more about symbolism than necessity.
Before any of that could happen, the SEAL team had to be sure. Reports from officials involved describe a tense, almost darkly funny moment. The mission commander wasn't fully convinced by early visual identification, since bin Laden was known to be roughly 6'4". A soldier of similar height was reportedly laid next to the body to compare, and the size difference helped confirm the identification. When the commander radioed this back to the White House, President Obama's reported response was blunt. You had $65 million for the helicopters and no $10 for a tape measure? DNA testing followed in Afghanistan to confirm the identification beyond doubt. From there, the body moved to the USS Carl Vinson in the Arabian Sea, where it was formally re-verified one final time before the burial rites began. This is the part that still generates debate. The US did take photographs documenting the raid in the body, and has kept nearly all of them classified. President Obama's public explanation was straightforward. Releasing graphic images of a killing, he argued, wasn't necessary to prove the operation succeeded, and it carried real risk. His phrase at the time was that the US didn't need to spike the football. Intelligence officials were specifically concerned that a graphic image could be used as propaganda, not proof of an ending, but fuel for a new generation of recruits. In extremist messaging, imagery tends to spread faster and hit harder than written ideology. A viral photograph, officials worried, could do more to inspire future attacks than a written statement ever could. There's a separate layer to this too. Materials recovered from bin Laden's compound, his personal library and files, painted a more complicated picture of the man than his public rhetoric suggested. Alongside religious texts, he kept books critical of US foreign policy, including works by mainstream journalists and academics, but also a number of well-known conspiracy theory books, including some claiming the September 11th attacks were an inside job. It's a strange detail. The man behind that attack was also reading theories that denied his own role in it. The CIA has said it withheld some recovered material for reasons including national security risk, file corruption, and copyright, but has never released a full accounting of everything that was found. That gap has, understandably, fueled ongoing speculation about what else remains classified. It's tempting to reduce this story to a single missing photograph, but the more interesting question is what radicalization actually looks like up close. Osama bin Laden wasn't born a terrorist. He was a university student from a wealthy, religious family who, over years, moved from advocacy to violence, pulled in by ideology, war, and a network that reinforced an increasingly narrow worldview. That trajectory is worth understanding, not because it excuses anything, but because extremism rarely announces itself all at once. It builds gradually, through isolation, through certainty, through the slow replacement of questions with absolute answers. The US decision to bury him at sea, keep the photos classified, and manage every detail of his death wasn't really about hiding a single image. It was an attempt to deny a violent movement its most powerful recruiting tool, a martyr with a grave and a face people could rally around. Whether that decision was the right one is still debated by historians, religious scholars, and intelligence analysts today. What's clear is that it wasn't made lightly, and 15 years later, it remains one of the most tightly controlled secrets of the post-9/11 era. Thanks for watching. If you found this breakdown useful, let me know what other declassified, or still classified, stories from this era you'd want covered next.